Hi everyone, my name is Jessica, and this is my final project for the Middle East and Africa. I focused on Burger King's WAP Her campaign. So, Burger King was founded in 1953 in Jacksonville, Florida. It's currently headquartered in Miami, Florida, and their mission statement is offering reasonably priced quality food served quickly in attractive and clean surroundings. So, the opportunity that Burger King had here in Saudi Arabia was to build a new loyal customer base of newly licensed female drivers. As you can see here, there were some other strengths, weaknesses, and threats that the organization was facing. Burger King has very strong brand recognition and a highly recognizable logo. Those things have been consistent throughout the years, so consumers know who to look for a fast food option. Some weaknesses is that they are overly reliant on the franchise model and they don't have a lot of healthy options, whereas some other fast food chains like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A have been trying to branch out into those healthier options. So, threats to the organization include competition from new fast food brands that offer consumers options beyond burgers. So, the WAP Her campaign, as I said before, took place in Saudi Arabia. So, we'll talk a little bit about what life is like in Saudi Arabia for the people who live there. So, Saudi Arabia is about 1/5 of the size of the United States, so land wise, it's much smaller. The population is about 34 million people. The predominant ethnic groups in Saudi Arabia are Arab and Afro Asian, and the religion is predominantly Muslim. So, Saudi Arabia has a very different political system than we have in the United States. On the Freedom House Democracy Index, Saudi Arabia scores a 7 out of 10. This indicates that the people in Saudi Arabia are overall not free. They don't really have elections or civil liberties like a free media, like we do here in the United States. And then on the Corruption Perception Index, Saudi Arabia scores a 53. Saudi Arabians perceive their government as moderately corrupt. A 0 would be fully corrupt, and a 100 would be completely non corrupt. So, the economic environment of Saudi Arabia is fairly prosperous. They were forecasted to see about a 1.5% growth to their GDP this year. Of course, this is all pre coronavirus, so things might be a little different now. In 2019, unemployment in Saudi Arabia actually fell from 12.7 to 12.3%. This was about 4 times higher than the US unemployment rate pre coronavirus. About 90% of the Saudi economy is based on oil, and they are considered a moderately wealthy country. Like I said, they have the 18th largest gross domestic product throughout the world. So, according to Reporters Without Borders, they do the World Press Freedom Index. So, Saudi Arabia ranked quite low on the list of countries, 170 out of 180 for a free press. So, their press is government controlled. They have no independent media. Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi was famously murdered in Turkey in 2018 in order to silence him. And then journalists who are critical of the government in Saudi Arabia can face legal charges. Some of the examples include inciting chaos or jeopardizing national unity. So they do not have the freedom to criticize or critique their government. Saudi Arabia is very technologically savvy. In 2017, the literacy rate was 95.3%. So almost everyone, every adult in Saudi Arabia is able to read and write. They have high media penetration, and social media is growing there at a higher rate than the rest of the world. So globally, the social media growth rate is around 13%, but in Saudi Arabia, it's about 32%. 89% of Saudi citizens are on the internet, they have access, and 68% use social media. The most popular social media platform in Saudi Arabia is YouTube. So we'll see later how Burger King used that to their advantage. So Saudi Arabian culture, as you can imagine, it is quite different than the culture that we have here in the United States. They're a high power distance country, so there is a strict social hierarchy. They have low individualism, so they prioritize the collective benefit of the country over an individual benefit to themselves. They're a masculine society, so things like competition, achievement, and success are highly valued. They have a high uncertainty avoidance tendency, so people prefer to be certain of their choices before they make them, and they avoid situations where they're uncertain of the outcome. And lastly, Saudi Arabia has a normative culture, meaning they honor traditions and are very slow to adopt societal change. All right, so we can start talking about the campaign. The campaign was focused around new women drivers in Saudi Arabia. So the primary audience was women drivers in Saudi Arabia. So 42.5% of the Saudi population are women. Their legal driving age is 18. So about 9 million women in Saudi Arabia are of legal driving age. However, about 1 year after driving became legal for women, which it became legal in the summer of 2018, the summer of 2018, only about 70,000 had gotten their license. So secondary audiences were Saudi citizens and Burger King stakeholders. One important stakeholder are employees of any company. It's important to include your employees as an audience so that they buy into your campaign and help create a meaningful customer experience. So the output objectives, the goal was to earn recognition as a progressive fast food choice that celebrates women's rights. Some objectives were to raise awareness of new women's rights in Saudi Arabia and to increase sales of the Whopper among women. So the timetable was June 24th through July 24th, 2018. This was the first month that women were legally allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia. So key messages of the campaign. The message really was, which was printed on the wrapper of the Whoppers that they were giving away, celebrating our women drivers. This was printed in Arabic and English to show unity and to show that countries outside of Saudi Arabia were excited and happy for the women there who had earned or gained their right to drive. So Burger King wanted its audiences to know that they were in support of ending the ban on women driving. There was, in this campaign, unfortunately, a misunderstanding, and the key message of the campaign was to celebrate the milestone of women driving in Saudi Arabia. However, many people did take offense to the phrase "whop her," because normally when you say "whop" something, you do mean to hit something. So people really didn't like that, especially when it came to women who in Saudi Arabia had been notoriously oppressed for a very long time. So campaign implementation, a German agency actually came up with and implemented the campaign. They're called Gerbars and Partners. According to the campaign materials that were available online, the campaign took place largely on Twitter and YouTube. We know that makes sense because Saudi Arabia has a very high YouTube audience. It's the social media platform that most people prefer in that country. So here is an example of a tweet that was used during the campaign. It features a video that was also posted on YouTube, which we'll see in a few minutes. It's very positive. It's from Burger King South Africa. So even though Saudi Arabia is the host country, many other Burger King locations got involved in this campaign. So it says, "Power to the women of Saudi Arabia who are making history by getting behind the wheel for the first time." And it uses the hashtag #WhopHer. Here's another example of a tweet. This one you can actually see the wrapper with the Arabic writing that says celebrating our women drivers. And it has a few other hashtags, Burger King, Whopper, and then Saudi women driving. So here is the YouTube video that I wanted to show. This was the main campaign ad for the Whopper campaign.
استنى كيف بصوت والشماغ
احنا مو وقتك
لا لا بشوف الشماغ مضبوط
خلاص المراية صارت حقت السيارة صارت حقت
يلا
احنا الجيل اللي أول مرة حنشهد حدث زي هذا.
بنقول لك مطبة ها وإيه شامل انت ما يبغى له تأمين مرة.
ما أحس إنه قيادة المرأة للسيارة راح تزيد.
ممكن نطلب واحد صفر فرايز وانتي؟
موزاريلا ستيكس.
سيزر سلطة. مناسبة قيادة المرأة للسيارة برجر كينج تقدم لك وافرها كضيافة وكانت مطلبات السيارة.
حركات.
شكرا.
So as you can see, the overall campaign is very positive. They just want to highlight the positive aspects of women driving and kind of show a little bit about what life was like in those first few days and moments that women got behind the wheel. So despite the language misunderstanding between Whop Her and Whopper, the campaign did seem to be an overall success. It raised awareness of and celebrated new women drivers in Saudi Arabia. It does seem that they could have used more media channels in their campaign implementation. The only materials that I could find were on Twitter and YouTube. However, we do know that YouTube was a good choice for the Saudi audience. So just some conclusions, a nice picture of Saudi Arabia. So the Whopper campaign was implemented from June 24th to July 24th in 2018. Again, some groups did take issue with the campaign because of the language that was used, but even with the negative connotations, the campaign was successful in raising awareness. So the only recommendation that I feel that I would have, I would recommend using a PR agency that is based in either the home country or the host country. I believe that this could have avoided the language confusion between Whop Her and Whop Her because they were a German agency. They may not have understood the reference. Here are some references that I used to complete the presentation. Thank you everyone so much for watching and have a great semester.